Explore the wonders of the universe, one discovery at a time.
Is slowly losing one of its most important elements, and most people have no idea. Every time helium escapes into the sky, it eventually drifts into space. Forever. And here's the strange part. We couldn't make more. So why do we use something so rare for party balloons? To understand that, we need to talk about one of the strangest elements in the universe. Helium, the element that refuses to react. Every time a helium balloon floats away, we lose something Earth can never get back. Forever. Very dramatic, but it's actually true. Because helium doesn't just float. It escapes Earth's gravity, drifts into space, and never comes back. Which means every single birthday balloon is releasing atoms that take millions of years to form. And once they're gone, they're gone. But that's not even the weirdest thing about helium. Helium was discovered in space before it was even discovered on Earth. It can turn into a liquid that climbs walls and escapes containers. And without medicine, space exploration, and parts of the technology you're even using right now wouldn't exist at all from an element that famously does nothing. People think helium is just a gas that makes balloons float. The thing that makes you sound ridiculous. Yeah, I've heard it too. It's kind of funny. But that squeaky voice effect is actually a clue to something deeper. Foreshadowing. Most people think your voice changes because helium is lighter. But that's not really what's happening. Sound is just vibrations traveling through gas. And helium lets sound travel faster than normal air. If vocal cords don't change, the speed of sound does. So when you talk in helium, physics basically speeds up your audio file, which is why you suddenly sound like a cartoon character. But here's a detail almost nobody knows. Helium doesn't just float, it escapes Earth entirely. Once helium reaches the upper atmosphere, Earth's gravity couldn't hold on to it anymore. The atoms are so light, they eventually drift off into space forever. Which raises a weird question. If helium constantly escapes Earth, why do we have any at all? And the answer turns out to be one of the strangest origin stories in chemistry. Because helium wasn't even discovered on Earth first. It was actually discovered in the sun. In 1868, scientists studying a solar eclipse split sunlight into a rainbow using a spectroscope. And they saw a bright yellow line that didn't match any element known on Earth. They had just discovered a new element, but it was in the sun. So they named it after the Greek word for sun, helios. Sound familiar? For a while, helium was literally an alien element we know existed. We just didn't know if Earth had any. Eventually, scientists discovered helium on Earth, but not in the air, underground. Deep underground. See what my foreshadowing was for? Trapped inside natural gas deposits. And here's where things get fascinating. Helium forms when radioactive elements like uranium slowly decay inside rocks. Over millions of years, helium atoms accumulate over time underground, which means every helium balloon contains atoms that may have been trapped beneath surface for millions of years, floating for a few seconds before escaping into space forever. Helium sits on the far right of the periodic table, in a group called the noble gases. And noble gases, a strange personality trait. They refuse to react with anything. Helium doesn't burn, it doesn't explode, it almost never forms chemical bonds. Its electron shell is already full. Chemically speaking, helium is perfectly satisfied. It's like that one person who's completely at peace with life. and doesn't need anything else from anyone at all, just thriving. And that calm stability turns out to be incredibly powerful, because sometimes the most valuable environment is one where nothing reacts. Most people think helium is made for balloons, but balloons are actually one of the least important and significant uses. Here are some of the places helium quietly keeps the world running. MRI machines. Scanners use extremely powerful magnets, but those magnets only work if they're cooled to near absolute zero. Liquid helium is what makes that possible. Without helium, MRI machines simply don't work, which means doctors couldn't see inside the human body without surgery. Scientific research. Helium can be cooled to the coldest temperatures in the universe. And when that happens, it becomes something called superfluids. Can flow without friction. They can climb walls and escape containers. It looks like physics is broken. Scientists use this to study quantum mechanics and superconductors. Space exploration. Rockets use helium to pressurize fuel tanks. NASA uses helium to purge fuel lines and cool sensitive equipment, because helium stays stable in extreme conditions. Technology manufacturing. Helium creates ultra-clean environments used to manufacture fiber optic cables, computer chips, and even LCD screens. So the device you're watching this will probably help build it. Deep sea diving. At extreme depths, nitrogen in normal air can make divers feel drunk underwater, so divers replace it with helium. Helium keeps them clear-headed. Now here's the part people rarely hear about. Helium is running out. Remember, helium escapes into space, and the only way Earth can make more is through radioactive decay deep underground, which takes millions of years just to do. We've been using helium faster than the Earth can reproduce it. Some scientists estimate that known reserves could be significantly depleted in the coming decades. And most people have absolutely no idea, because helium feels super common. We see balloons everywhere, but balloons are using one of the rarest industrial resources on Earth. Hospitals are already recycling helium for MRI machines. Research labs carefully capture and reuse it. And the price of helium has been rising. Free helium teaches us something interesting about the world. First, stability can be powerful. Most elements react. Helium doesn't. And that calm stability makes it essential. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is absolutely nothing. Second, invisible things matter. You couldn't see helium. You couldn't smell it, but it quietly powers MRI machines, medicine, science, technology, and space exploration. Third, rarity isn't always obvious. Helium is the second most common element in the entire universe, but on Earth, it's incredibly scarce. And once it escapes into space, it's gone forever. Not, we'll find it gone, not it's hiding gone, gone. So what is helium really? Element number 2. Born inside stars when hydrogen atoms fuse together. Chemically stable because its electron shell is already full, light enough to escape gravity. Rare on our planet, but essential to modern technology. Helium proves something simple. Everything important is dramatic. It doesn't explode. It doesn't react. Helium does almost nothing, and that's exactly why it matters so much to us. So the next time you see a helium balloon floating into the sky, remember what you're actually watching. Atoms that were created inside stars, trapped underground millions of years, released for a few seconds of flight, and then lost to space forever. From the element that famously does nothing. And somehow, that's exactly what makes it so important. Stay curious, because even tiny elements can change the universe. I'm Aries Mason Miller, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next discovery. Bye!